Welcome back to News Talk. The increased security for the Pope's visit will contribute to what some are calling a perfect storm for drivers in and around the district. That's because in addition to Pope Francis's Mass at the Basilica, there will also be a Nationals home game and a few concerts at the Verizon Center. Brianne Carter tells us what to look out for next week.
Throughout D.C. on any given day, drivers run into traffic troubles. Mix in several major events, a crush of commuters, and dozens of streets shut down, and getting around town the middle of next week will be anything but easy. At the heart of it all, road closures starting Tuesday next week for Pope Francis's visit to Washington. Dozens and dozens of closures will be in place throughout his 3-day stay. Changes will also be made to public transportation routes and parking.
Certain areas going to be very difficult.
Wednesday, thousands will be in the city for the Pope's canonization Mass. As that is letting out, thousands of others will be on the road to try and get to Nats Park for the Battle of the Beltway series. And if 2 events wasn't bad enough, there's also a concert Wednesday night at Verizon Center. Ed Sheeran will play the arena both Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Some D.C. residents just plan to stay off the roads. Not downtown.
No way.
All right. I live in DuPont Circle. The car will stay in our garage, and I will not take it out all week.
DDOT officials are urging people not to get behind the wheel. Rather, use public transportation instead.
And that was Brianne Carter reporting. John Townsend with AAA Mid-Atlantic joins me now with tips for locals on how to avoid all of this Pope traffic. Welcome, John. Thank you for being here as usual.
Great seeing you, Mike.
So parts of the district will essentially shut down. Is there really any way to possibly avoid the traffic?
No, there's no way to avoid it. And if you're going to a papal event, then you have to plan ahead. And if you're not going to one, you have to plan ahead. So everyone would be impacted by this, and that's what we have to understand. As Brianne said, as you said a moment ago, this is going to be the perfect traffic storm. We call it a popecalyptic, literally and figuratively, because it's going to affect everyone in the area, even if you live in the area. Law enforcement agencies, and there are 28 of them working on this, have put together a 12-page summary. And this is as of this week of the road closures and the traffic impacts and the security restrictions. And it keeps evolving. And now you have overhead signs on the highway system notifying people in advance that this is going to be an event that they should prepare for well in advance and have a game plan too.
And that document is probably just the tip of the iceberg.
It's the tip of the iceberg.
In terms of what's confidential and
right.
Can't be released for security reasons.
And you underscore something very important, that this is a high security activity. The Secret Service is directly involved in this. And then you have the Pope making appearances at the White House and on Capitol Hill, and so it's heightened security. This is almost of the scale of a presidential inauguration, except that it's going to go on for 3 days. And then you have the other activities going on in the city, as Brianne just talked about a moment ago.
Well, I want to ask you about that there are so many moving parts. With just the Pope's visit alone, with him moving around from the White House to Congress to the Basilica for the Mass, is there any way or resource that you're guiding drivers to look at to know which roads are actually going to be closed when?
Yes, there are websites that they can go to, and we're also sending a notice, an email alert to our 400,000 members that live in the Washington metro area and in the Philadelphia area about the impact of the Papal visit. You can see here, I'm holding it up. No, you can't in this camera. But we will send information to our members about vital information on road closures, public transit, and more. And you have to be really tuned in. It's a great time to be on social media. It's a great time to go to websites and just be in a position so you have the most information at any given moment.
So what exactly is Metro doing to compensate for this? A lot of people will instead use public transit those days. What are they doing to meet that demand?
Well, Metro will add additional services and have additional runs to accommodate the overflow, because you can't use and utilize the roadway system. So you have to use mass transit, especially during the hours of the ball game. We have that Beltway to Beltway series starting Tuesday night. We have a concert at the Verizon Center. And remember, the Yom Kippur starts at sundown on Tuesday.
A lot of synagogues will see extra
traffic. A lot
traffic.
of synagogues will see extra traffic. So this is going to be more than a perfect storm. It is going to be absolute chaos and confusion.
I know
you don't know what you're doing.
A lot of those bus routes will go directly to the metro stations. Maybe
Right.
we'll have alternate routes. And in terms of that baseball game, I mean, this is not just a home game. This is a huge rivalry between these two cities. We're
Right.
going to have a lot of Baltimoreans and Marylanders coming down into the city. You know, even on a good day, they may not be 100% familiar with all of our roads and thoroughfares. And then you add all these moving parts with the Pope's visit. I guess I'm shocked that they didn't reschedule that game.
I am too, and I think that what you have to do is utilize mass transit. But given the problems we've had on Metro Rail, especially last month in August, it would behoove people to understand the parameters that they're dealing with and to have plenty of patience. This is, you know, with the papal visit, this is the time for all the saintly virtues that you would have to come out. So you need to have patience, endurance, perseverance, and willpower in order to negotiate all of the things and the moving parts that you're talking about.
Catholics and non-Catholics might be praying to St. Anthony to find their way
Right.
safely. He's the
Yes.
patron saint of lost things. So the
Not
federal
only St.
government...
Anthony, but also St. Christopher for the passages and crossings, too, would have to endure.
The federal government has been encouraging employees, as well as some private employers as well, to telework.
Right.
If they can, don't come into the office that day, work from home. D.C. public schools, D.C. government will remain open during
Right.
this visit. Do you think that was a mistake, given all the security and traffic issues?
I think they should have declared a special holiday, especially schools in the perimeter. The fact of the matter is that what you will have is just absolute gridlock. And then you have the Pope moving, and then you, with this motorcade, not only just the Pope mobile, but anytime he moves, whether he's going to Capitol Hill or whether he's going to the Basilica, then you have these rolling shutdowns and closures that you can anticipate. And so we have to be totally aware, and it would be better if we were to treat this like a federal holiday and just say, you know, we brag and we boast in the District of Columbia that we handle heads of states all the time. But this is different because you have so many different things going on, not only the Jewish holiday, but the concert and the ball game. And I think we were late in planning all of this. I was worried when they first announced that the Pope was coming that we were kind of lackadaisical about this in terms of the planning. And they said, no, we can handle this because we do it all the time because there's so many heads of states always in and out of Washington. But I think they underestimated the scope and the scale of this.
Just wrapping up now, DDOT is saying it's going to have 70 intersections across the district manned with traffic control officers,
Right.
crossing guards. Even the National Guard will be involved out
Right.
there next week. Are you confident in terms of what the district transportation leaders are doing to prep for this as best as they can?
I think they're doing as best as they can. I just wish they had put more planning power behind this and strategic overviews, because I think they underestimated how popular this Pope is, really, not only for Catholics, but for non-Catholics too.
So final piece of advice, stay home if you can.
Stay home if you
can.
can.
Take mass transit.
Take mass transit, and then be fully aware of what's going on at all times.
Very good advice. John Townsend with AAA, thanks as always for being
Thank you,
here.
Mike.
Great insight. We're back with more News Talk right after this.